So here are 6 hidden costs in a production budget that can turn your manageable project into a financial crisis. Well, maybe not a crisis, but definitely you'll end up paying more than you thought you would, and nobody likes that. Okay, so let's just jump right in. Let me check here my index cards. So the first one is filming overtime. Filming overtime is essentially when the videographer stays and films longer than what they were originally contracted for. So let's say they were supposed to finish filming at 9 p.m. and all of a sudden they stay until 10 or 11. You are likely to get charged for those extra hours. So let's say in a schedule, you have a VIP that's late, maybe the food is delayed. All of a sudden, the entire schedule is shifted forward. So then if the videographer was supposed to finish at one time, now they need to stay a little bit longer if they are still to capture the entire event. The reason you need to be careful with this is because even though a lot of them, including my company, will have a grace period, maybe 20 to 30 minutes, meaning that if we go over for that amount, no big deal, we won't charge. But if you start going beyond 30 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, then that can definitely incur extra payment. You can definitely save yourself some money if you plan for this beforehand. So if you reasonably believe that your event might be delayed, or you might change your mind and you might want maybe this extra hour or extra 2 hours to film maybe like a social part after an award ceremony, then it might be better to plan that beforehand for a couple reasons. Some videographers, again, they might give you a grace period beyond a certain point. Others might give you a discounted rate if you stay longer. Others might just charge you for the same hourly rate. And there are also others that might charge you an extra or a premium for staying longer. Something to remember as well is that their availability might not be secure. So if you tell them beforehand, hey, I'm gonna need you to stay until 10 p.m., that's much better than originally agreeing to 8 and then extending it to 10 because you're also assuming that they'll be available to stay until 10. It's always better, in my opinion, to try to plan for that in advance as possible. Now, obviously, sometimes things happen and you just have to get an extra hour, but at least knowing how it works, how much the extra hour is gonna be, I think can save you a lot of heartache. So keep track of filming overtime. Okay, so next one we're gonna talk about are the travel fees. Sometimes you might need to get a media team to fly either to another state or to a faraway city or sometimes even to another country. So we've definitely done a lot of projects in different states, not internationally yet, but we might. This does entail some extra costs. For example, if they're flying, obviously they're gonna charge you for the plane ticket. But it's not just a plane ticket. That includes the taxes, that includes the bags, that includes extra bags, because when you're filming media, you're gonna bring a lot of checked bags, but not only that, they're probably gonna be overweight as well. So that might incur an extra cost. This also includes maybe Ubers to the airport, maybe overnight parking at the airport if the media team is just leaving their cars and they don't have anyone to drop them off. Also the hotels, general parking for the hotels. Essentially all these things, when you think of travel, they can add up quickly. So it's important to keep that in mind. Now, something that can definitely help is to try to book the travel way beforehand. It's not the same thing buying tickets 3 to 4 months before than buying them 2 weeks before the event. Obviously, that's not always feasible. I understand there's different levels of approvals in different corporate projects, but if possible, I would try to definitely do it beforehand to hopefully save you some travel fees. The next one we have here are the extra revisions. So extra revisions are when you require extra edits or extra corrections than the ones that were specified in the contract. Most contracts do have a limit on revisions. Otherwise, videographers might be working forever for the same client. Let's say, for example, you had 2 or 3 revisions to change base elements, maybe clips or arrange the interview or anything like that. If you decide to go beyond that, totally cool, but it might entail an extra cost, maybe per hour or maybe per extra revision. So that's something to keep in mind. Anytime you go beyond the original allotted revisions, that might incur an extra charge. Speaking of new edits, another one of the hidden costs, quote, quote, or extra costs you might incur on your project are extra edits. This is different from the extra revisions because you're not modifying an existing video, you're getting new videos. For example, on an 8-hour or a 10-hour full day, you can record a ton of content. I mean, a lot. Let's say you commissioned the videographer to do simply a 60-minute highlight video or 3 of them. There's still so much content that was filmed that you could do probably 4 or 5 more. You could do an interview, you could do a testimonial, you could even do a long format 5 or 10 minute recap. If you want to ask for these extra things, which they were already filmed, so it's actually a pretty good idea, then that would probably count as an extra edit and that might be billed separately. Fix my shirt here. Next one, we got multiple camera operators. The more, the better. So multiple camera operators is exactly as it sounds. You have multiple people filming at the same time. This is very useful when you have, let's say, keynote events. So you can have one person continuously recording the speech to make sure they grab obviously the video and the audio as well so people can listen back. And then you can have someone else grabbing B-roll of the person or the venue or the audience reactions. And then that gives you a much more comprehensive and complete media package when you do the edits, because now you don't just have a stationary camera, even though maybe it's tracking the speaker, recording the keynotes, you also have rich B-roll and you have audience interactions and venue, and you have all these things that really make for a more, I'll say, a better and more complete edit. Another reason to have multiple camera operators is if you have a big event and you have breakout rooms. So let's say you have different happenings in the same event at the same time in different locations. So you might have a couple different breakout rooms. Obviously, one videographer can't record everything by themselves at the same time. So then it might be nice to have, or it might be proper to have, multiple videographers recording different things to make sure you capture everything. Obviously, the downside is it's going to be a lot more expensive because you're paying for two. Now, some companies will offer a discounted rate for a second videographer, and sometimes they're as talented or even more talented than the first videographer. So, something to keep in mind. All right, next one is rush fees. Maybe a normal time frame for getting a video done, whether it's a highlight or a commercial, again, depending on the complexity. It's based on my experience. I would say maybe 1 to 2 weeks for the first draft. Now, there might be revisions. It might need to be taken up the ladder of corporate approval. And then that might take months because sometimes big companies take forever. Again, this depends on the company and it depends on the contract that you sign. But a rush fee would be defined as anything inside that standard editing time frame. So for example, if you have an editing cost, say of $1,000 for 1 week, you might have $1,200 for 5 days and $1,500 for 3 days and maybe $2,000 for next day. And some companies are so talented that they can edit the video before it's even filmed. I'm just kidding, but that'd be pretty cool. Some companies, and fortunately we're one of them, can edit your video within hours of the event. So that's pretty cool because you can have an event in the morning and by the evening session, you're already showcasing photos and videos from the same day, which the attendees and the sponsors love. So that's pretty cool. And last one we have here is this special music licensing. Most videographers and most video companies, they would or should have third-party music providers. So this would be like Epidemic Sound, Artlist, Envato Elements, etc. If they have the appropriate license in some of those, then the clients obviously will be covered for the use of the music. You should always ask for that, by the way. Ask for the certification and the license that your music is actually covered. That shouldn't be an extra cost, or if it is, very little. Now, when I talk about special music licensing, is if you want a special song or a unique song. So let's say you're hell-bent on having AC/DC's Thunderstruck. Well, good luck on getting that one. First of all, there's the challenge of who to even contact. So you have to find that and then ask them if they will even give you permission. And if they do, it might be crazy, crazy expensive. So unless you have a super specific requirement and you want this song, I wouldn't really worry about that. That's it, guys. Thanks for watching. If you want to see some more awesome videos, make sure to subscribe to our channel below. And don't forget to click on the description link to get your free guide on hiring event media.